Welcome to School Talk, Connecting Parents to Possibilities. I'm Dr. Connie Ellis, your host, and we want to thank our sponsor, our wonderful SPH Marketing. We thank you for your sponsorship. We thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. And of course, we got a wonderful guest for the show. Right now, I want to introduce Superintendent Lori White. She is with the superintendent, of course, the most recent superintendent for the Sarasota County Schools. We are so proud of this and so happy she's here. And I want you to know that this young woman, and she is a young woman, started out in special education, worked her way through the system, and now she is our superintendent for our Sarasota County Public Schools. And welcome, Superintendent White. Thank you so much for your time and coming here and telling us something about the gifted.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to ask you, what are some of the wonderful gifted programs that you have in the school system?
We really have a wide spectrum of programs that are designed to meet the needs not only of our gifted students, but high achieving as well in some cases. We are one of the only districts in the state of Florida with a full-time gifted school for grades 2 through 12. In addition, we have other full-time programs for those families who prefer to have those services in a more traditional school. We have that at the elementary and the middle school level. Also, we have in many of our elementary schools and in some of our middle schools, we have teams or classrooms that are designed for high-achieving students and our gifted students. So that spectrum of services allows parents choices when they're trying to make decisions for their students.
Now, I'm glad you're talking about this because most people think Pineview, which is a publicly funded program in our Sarasota school systems, is the only option. And you're saying there are other things for parents.
Even for our full-time gifted students, they can have the same type of program at a more traditional school. But there is a difference in terms of eligibility for those types of programs, both at the full-time in the traditional school and at Pineview. There's a matrix of characteristics that we look at in measuring students' performance to give a guide to parents in terms of the type of program that they might be eligible for. That spectrum of characteristics includes intellectual ability, and that's with state rules in terms of what we have to see in the performance. We also look at student achievement levels. We look at what the teacher sees in the student, and are we able to meet the needs of that child in a traditional program. We also look for the parent's perception of the child's performance. All of those different attributes are compiled in a matrix, and that achieves a certain score level. There's a cutoff there for full-time gifted programs, and there's also a cutoff that it says this child is gifted, but probably can look in a part-time program or one of those accelerated classrooms or teams that we have in our traditional schools.
So this is a well-documented process then that you've been doing for quite a while.
Yes, it is, although we've made tweaks in that process. Sometimes the state guidelines change. We're one of the few states that actually recognizes gifted education as part of the special education program, and it allows for those students that are identified gifted according to those state guidelines a little bit of additional money beyond the basic student allocation.
And what, you know, of course, this is totally new to me. I did not have a gifted child, and I have friends that do. But how do parents find out about this? I mean, is this something that you find out early in a child's life? How does the school assist a parent?
Well, certainly our guidance counselors are there at our schools to assist parents. There's ESE liaisons that can help them through the process. But many times the classroom teacher recognizes a child that might need something more beyond the traditional curriculum, and so kind of prompts that parent to consider those options. Then if there's any questions, even if for those parents that are in the private sector that are interested in our gifted programs, they can contact our central office and we will give them very specific procedures. There are cutoff dates, and so it's very important for parents to understand what the process is and what they need to have compiled in terms of information that will allow us to determine eligibility and meet that deadline.
Now, who helps them understand this process?
Well, in a traditional school, the guidance counselor is there as well as the ESE liaison. So there's
Now,
people
ESA, tell me what that is.
Exceptional Student Education, and Gifted is part of that process. Just as those students with disabilities have an identification process, Gifted also has that same kind of process. So there's resources at the districted school to help parents, and for those parents that are not in our public school system, they can certainly call our administrative offices, and we have a department that works with parents.
And I found it most interesting that you were in the first graduating class of Pineview School.
Yes.
And what did your parents, I think it's interesting, did your parents recognize that you were a gifted child when you were young, or was it later on?
Well, remember, at the time Pineview began, there was very little in gifted programming. And I doubt if my parents recognized me as a gifted student, but the school recognized that I had some talents and offered me the opportunity to be tested. And so I was very lucky to be in that first class at Pineview and ultimately graduated from Pineview.
And isn't the Sarasota County public school system sort of we're sort of a beacon of light, aren't we, for other states as far as how we treat the gifted and take care of their needs?
I think we're certainly recognized for having that full spectrum, which is fairly unusual in having particularly a school that's really dedicated to this. But I want to make the point too that our regular comprehensive high schools, we have a multitude of programs to meet the needs of gifted and talented students. Those are advanced placement courses, dual enrollment courses. We have an IB program. Some of our small learning communities, such as our math and science at one of our high schools, is designed to really meet the needs of those gifted students. We have a VPA program for some of those that are talented in the performing arts.
Now, what's VPA?
It's a visual performing arts program. So I think it's a recognition in this district that it's important to identify what are those potentials in all of our students and offer them a variety of programs to meet those special needs.
Because, and we're so treated, I think you're referring to probably to Booker High School for the visual, which we hear a lot about, and they win awards. And also tell a little bit about, there's something that I read about the 21st century education in Sarasota. What is that? What is that all about? I don't know anything about it.
The students of today, we know, learn a little differently than from when we were in school. And this allows students to have a variety of ways of accessing information, using technology in this digital age, looking at ways we can differentiate instruction within the classroom, giving students opportunities for computer-assisted instruction. Perhaps they can have a virtual education opportunity. So there's so many ways in this day that we can help students access a variety of educational programs.
And how do the gifted fit into that 21st century program?
Well, I think gifted students are always hungry for looking at options in terms of their learning. Sometimes they don't want to have that just traditional lecture approach. So allowing the technology in a variety of ways of the delivery of instruction allows us to differentiate even within the group of gifted students.
Well, thank you so much, Superintendent White. We are so pleased to have you here today. And we hope that you, as our viewers, have learned more about the gifted and the wonderful things that the Sarasota County Schools are doing for our gifted children. Thank you.